I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to our regular meeting of October 14th, 2013. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Could I have roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Mr. Kuderich,
Present.
Ms. Bowles.
Here.
Ms. Kraut,
Here.
Mr. Thied.
Here.
Ms. Funderburg.
Here.
Ms. Beard.
Here.
Ms. Buckley is here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, please.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Ms. Funderburg. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is personnel actions. Could I please have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education accept the following personnel actions as submitted by Rebecca Peck, Director of Human Resources. Do you want me to go through and just read what they all are?
I would just read the positions, I
Yeah,
think.
that's what I mean. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, employ, share time, sub, West Side, share time, music, St. Mary's, cafeteria server, Rom L, South CC, general ed, Romulus Middle School, first grade, Romulus Elementary, third grade, Romulus Elementary, fourth grade, Romulus Elementary. Leave of absence, PE WIC, recalls, math teacher, community high, resignation, PE, laid off, Romulus High, retirements, three custodians, two bus drivers, a mechanic, and a maintenance person.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Buckley, supported by Mr. Kudrick. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a DEP update. Dr. Daniels?
And Madam President and board members, to date, we have not received any additional information regarding the DEP. And I checked just before I came in. They communicate by email with a letter attached to it. For me, that's a good sign. I think that if there was a problem, they would have been whipping it back to us. So if we have not heard, probably in the next week or so, we may contact them, but I don't want to mess up any kind of state aid payments for this month or anything. But as I said, we have not heard anything, and currently I see that as a good sign. So that's where we are with that right now.
When do we receive state aid payment? What is the date?
The 18, 19, 20, 21st, is it 21st, is that? October 21st.
And our student count was complete for the first?
What we have, they're still very unofficial numbers. Currently, what we're weighing in with is 3,172 students, or 0.35 students. And that's where we are right now. But again, those are absolutely unofficial, and we were very conservative, with that count. So if it's different, we are assuming it will probably be higher, not lower. Again, took into account, first of all, those students that we had absolutely seen, and we backed out anyone who had a number of absences. So.
I did have reports. So you said that we haven't heard anything.
Correct.
Will this, I guess this is kind of fishing, but do you foresee them holding that state aid at all? I guess that's kind of, because it's
No,
just
not
one
at
of
all.
those, not that I trust the state anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
not at
kinda-
all.
Okay.
Especially if we not heard nothing in
Right. No.
15 days.
They passed the window where they could actually
Right.
initiate the stop payment. Now, that's for October.
Right.
This is a monthly a monthly process with them.
Okay,
But they've gone beyond the window at this point.
gotcha.
Already
Okay,
been
so
initiated.
at least we feel like we're comfortable for the month of October.
Yes.
November is a total different story, according to the state. Okay. Because I've been having people ask questions in regards to, like, does this impact our state aid? And this is kind of associated with the DEP, but not really, which is kind of with the federal, our
Sequestration. and,
yeah. How will the funds be impacted, or any of our funds that we now receive from the state be impacted because the federal government hasn't gotten their act together yet?
That's not going to impact us currently. The only thing that it might do, if there are, and not with our state aid,
Okay,
but at some point, we're not sure when it will catch up to them for those persons who are employed working with the Department of Education who are paid out of the federal funds.
okay, so with that.
But even with that, it's it wouldn't even be a case of are the funds available, particularly because for the federal programs that we're a part of, the allocations are determined on the previous year.
So they've
we're
already been, okay,
Yes. So the main thing would just be the mechanics of the housing of the day-to-day operations,
Okay.
how that would impact that.
because things that I thought about was like our GSRP program, our Head Start, and I had somebody ask me about our food program, and those kinds of
Those should
things.
not be impacted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, the next item on the agenda is business manager update.
Rebecca, why don't you give an update on that one?
So we went through the process, we posted and we went through the vetting process, and we had our first round interview. We invited 4 people in to interview for the position. Of those 4, 2 were selected to come back for a second interview. In the meantime, between last week's selection of those 2, one of them has chosen to take their hat out, their name out of the ring. So we are down to 1. It's one very good candidate, so we are interviewing this week. Our interview committee for the second round will include Mr. Mike Dixon, the financial consulting, myself, as well as Dr. Daniels, a board member. The board president will be there as well. So we'll keep you posted.
Can
What
you
day
tell
will
them
that
who was
happen?
on the first round of
Wednesday.
interviews?
Wednesday?
The first round of interviews included Steve Ezekian from Wayne Risa. He's the assistant superintendent that oversees the finance. Mr. Mike Dixon was also included in that, which they were, of course, instrumental in the process of vetting the applicants as well as the interview questions. Very, very much focused on the down in, right, boots on the ground type finance questions. We also had Anna included in that interview, as well as Hal Hurd and myself.
Any other questions?
So pretty much after the interviews it's the second interview, if this is the candidate for us, then as a board, we get an opportunity to talk about contract for that
Correct.
person?
Yep.
Okay.
So the board gave me some parameters to kind of work around, so we've, that's been shared with the applicants. So the specifics, though, no contract has been shared with them because I don't have the specifics on the contract yet. I will tell you that there's 2 other positions that are open right now in Wayne County, Garden City as well as Riverview. I believe another one is going to be opening very soon as well. So we're kind of all competing for the same labor pool right now.
Okay.
Okay, the next item, I'd like to welcome Mr. Salhaney and his staff. They're going to be here to present to us a parent home visit presentation.
Okay, do you want the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, good evening, school board members. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about our parent home parent-teacher home visitation project. About 3 years ago, when we started the SIG, we were identified as a priority school through the National Education Association because of our labor and management collaboration. Because of that, the National Education Association, along with the MEA, decided to fund this project that came out of California. They provided us about $5,000 of seed money. We continued to work with that in the second year, and then this year, with some of our carryover funds, we set aside about $5,000 in order to continue with the project. Ms. Herchert has been instrumental in starting the project, along with Ms. Covert, who's worked into it the second year, and then Ms. Carter has been another person in our elementary partnership. So they're going to just talk with you briefly about the project, how it's transformed, what we've done over the past year, and then talk about some next steps. We are in talking with Dr. Daniels, we're really hoping that the Board of Education possibly will adopt this as an initiative and expand it throughout our entire school district, as many of our teachers are trained and certified in training others to do this. So I'm not going to take up any more time, so I'm going to introduce Ms. Herchert, and she will go from there.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this. And I brought some wonderful colleagues to help me out. He pretty much told you about how it began. I was at the last board meeting, and I heard you guys talking about how you wanted to think outside the box and really think about some new projects and things like that. So I'm timely in this, that hopefully this is one of those projects that you will see as thinking outside the box and hopefully will adopt. Mr. Salhaney approached me to go to the conference 2 years ago. And basically, he didn't really tell me much. He said, go and find out what this is about. And so this is basically, it's very simple. It's about building relationships between parents and teachers. That's what it's about. It's about making sure that they trust us, that we're viewed as equal partners in the education of their child. And we want to, and the ultimate goal is academic and social success for our students, which I think we all can agree on. The basics are 2 staff members go out to a home in the community. Instead of having them always come to us, we're going to go to them. And it's 2 staff members so that, for safety and other reasons. Also just because 2 heads can remember more things that happen and things like that. Very informal, 30-minute visit approximately. Sometimes they're shorter. Sometimes they want to talk and have you over for dinner. So it might last longer. And all we talk about is school experiences, both the parents and the child's. Well, my favorite part, what are your hopes and dreams for your children? It's been wonderful to hear what their hopes and dreams are, and I realize that they have the same hopes and dreams that I have for their children. Some of them are the same. And then about our expectations for them as a family, but then their expectations for us as a staff as well. So just really kind of get to know you, building the trust. This is just kind of some background information that the reason, when I went, I was just completely inspired. There maybe have been some tears when I heard some testimonials and things like that. Very student family centered. It was empowering not only to teachers, but to students and to families. And most importantly, it builds community, okay? So we're working together. And I think Mr. Salhaney kind of picked me because it fits with my experience as a teacher. When I taught at Hell Creek for about 9 years before I moved over to the middle school, a couple times I looped my kids, and I've been to baseball games, I've started a stamp club, things like that. And my best years were always when I worked together with the parents and I really knew the families. So this just made sense to me. So once I went to the conference and I did a phone call at 10 o'clock at night to Miss Carter. Miss Carter, this is right up our alley. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. I started to spread the word at the middle school. I spread it to Sarah, who spreads it to everybody. And then I knew that if I got it on her, everybody would know about it. I was a part of the National Network of Partnership Schools at Romulus Middle School. And so I talked about it there. Mr. Salhaney talked about it with the principals. Ms. West immediately was on board, said, I love it, let's do it. I obviously had a history with Hell Creek, so I decided to partner with Hell Creek to begin with. And I thought that it would be good to do transition visits. So we would visit 5th graders coming into 6th grade, especially since there's a little anxiety about having the 6th grade at middle school. and I know that that was a big transition for the community. So I thought that would be a good place to start, visiting Hell Creek families that are coming into the middle school. So we had the team from California come and train 30 teachers, not only from Romulus, but from Hell Creek as well. And we went from there. So that was the first year. And then we piloted it. So we called we had about 60 families coming in from Hell Creek. We called them. We ended up doing about 20 visits. And I just kind of wanted to have Ms. Carter talk about how her experience was, because she was visiting students that were leaving her. But we wanted to have an old staff member that the student was familiar with, and then a new staff member. So if she could just kind of share what her experience was, that would be great.
Okay, good evening. Sarah Carter. I teach 3rd grade at Hale Creek. So actually, when Julie contacted me about this, I remember the phone call being a little later than 10 o'clock. I feel like it was more like midnight on a Saturday night. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you roping me into now? So again, I mean, she seemed very passionate about it. I was like, yeah, I'll try it. Like, that sounds great. I'm all about working with families and building relationships and whatever's best for the kids, to show that we're supporting them. Not only are they being supported by their parents and their families, but we want those things, like Julie said, for them as well. So I actually went to the very first visit. Julie and I went to it together, and it actually was for a student that I had in 3rd grade in my class. And this student was just had finished 5th grade and was transitioning to the middle school. And it was really great to go to the home because I already had a relationship not only with her, but also with her parents. And when we walked in, they were very welcoming, very excited that we were there. But more importantly, like, their entire family was there. That I think, like, the word kind of spread, there's teachers coming to your house. And the grandmother was there, all of the siblings were there, so all 5 of them were there. An aunt was coming over, both of the parents were there. So, like, the entire family was there, like, what are these teachers doing here? What do they want, and what are they gonna say? And it really, like Julie said, was very informal. What is your experience in school? What do you like about school? What do you wanna do in the future? What are your hopes for your child? And it was nice for me to say, since I had this student as a 3rd grader, I know how you are as a student, and this is what my hope is for you. This is what I hope you do in your future. And just the experience overall was a really great experience, and I think that it helped ease the parents' nerves, because parents get very nervous when they're sending their child from one school to another school. You know, they have their children 5 or 6 years at elementary, and now all of a sudden they're going to the middle school and they don't really know what that's going to be like. So I think, you know, they did have some questions. Well, what about changing classes? What's lunch like? And what about this? What kind of activities are there? And just some questions that you would think, like, oh, parents know that, but really they didn't know that, even though they had other children that went to the middle school and to the high school. So that's kind of just how it started and my experience. So, like, we left and both of us were so nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, that went so good. Like, I feel good about doing that. I was nervous to go into the home. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know how the parents are going to react to us being there. And it was really, it ended up being a great experience. And I think from there it just has kind of spread. And, you know, she's going to talk to you about some of the amazing things they did, you know, that happened this summer as well. So it was very powerful and just a great way to get the parent support right away. And, you know, hopefully this is something that, you know, I don't just want to help them do with transitioning students, but this is something that I hope to do with my incoming students coming into my classroom next summer, building the relationship with the parents before their child even steps foot in my classroom. So they know the reason I'm there, and I'm there to make their child be successful, but I want their support as well. And it really is, you know, being successful and working together. So it's really a great, worthwhile program. Thank you.
And just to kind of piggyback off what she said, I ended up having that student in my class, and I had her as an advisory, and I knew already what she wanted to do in the future. So I knew she wanted to be a doctor, and so I made sure that she was in the advanced math program, and I already knew a lot about her, and I could kind of guide some of the curriculum towards her or her interests. So that was really nice for me. So that we kind of, so it was, I was kind of discouraged. We went to the national conference and I was like, some people were going up, we did 1,000 visits. And I'm like, I'm from Romulus Middle School, we did 20 visits. You know, so I was a little discouraged, but we were a much smaller district than a lot of the other ones. And were just starting and they were like, this is how it works. You have to work out the kinks. So the next year, the next year we got serious. We called every single incoming sixth grader to our school. We called 240 families, and we ended up, you know, tripling the amount of families that were able to visit. And that wasn't all the families that wanted us to visit. It was just a matter of scheduling 2 households and then another household, and then there's sicknesses, unexpected things. So we could have done more, but it just out of timing and things like that, we weren't able to. Over 16 teachers were involved, administrators participated. I had a teacher from Wick participate, Hale Creek, Barth, and obviously Romulus Middle School. So the word is spreading, even though it's not everywhere. There's people participating from all different schools. And it really took off, and it was really positive because Ms. Cover got involved. She was like my right-hand woman. And we were able to leave every visit with a free book for all the siblings and everybody in the home. So Ms. Covert's just going to talk a little bit about how that got started and how she was able to get us all these books.
Hello, Mrs. Covert. I teach over at the middle school science. Well, I may teach science, but I'm a real advocate of literacy and getting books in the students' hands that are theirs. So I had heard about this program, and I started writing the grants and getting the free books. And I was passing them out to my students in the classes, and they were passing me, telling me what's going on in the story every day in between classes, because every free minute they were reading. Well, Julie had been doing these home visits, and I've always really been part of including families and doing activities and different things. And I thought about it last year, and I was like, well, I'm so busy, and I don't like to talk to people, and I'll have to call. And so I just kind of backed out and tried to hide from her in the halls. Because I told her I would, and then I was too chicken. So I went ahead and took the step, and now I could call. If you want to call, just let me know. I'll call you. But I started calling, and the response was so positive with the parents we did get a hold of, that I was getting excited. And she's right. We had left messages with all those others, but almost everyone we contacted said yes, who we could have a one-on-one conversation. A few said, but my daughter's out of the state. Can you do it a little later when she comes back? Or we're going on a cruise. Can you schedule us, because those are the dates we're gone. And like she said, it didn't all work out, and you know, the school year kept getting closer. But the excitement was there. And I thought, well, I'm giving my students books, and they're saying, do you have any for my little brother or my little sister? And I thought about it, so I wrote a grant so I could purchase books we have for like 3-month-old. Little they can chew on, and it's not going to hurt it. That go all the way up to the adult. And when I talked to Julie, she was thrilled about giving them the free book. And we didn't make a big deal. We just laid them out there before we left and said, pick a book, one for you to start your own library with. And some households, I didn't even know there were that many kids there till they just all started running into the room to have a book, which I was good to go. But, and they loved it. And it was just a very pleasant way to leave them and say goodbye. And I must say, I loved it. I was dragging Julie for 2 days in a row, 7 hours? From one visit to the next. Okay. And then she's like, Deanne, we got to take a break. I can't. And then we had the break and was like, yeah, we can't go no more. Because, you know, when you sit down. But it was great. And at open house, it really showed, because the parents came into open house like they knew me. You know, come in, talking, hugging, shaking hands with me. And you could already feel the partnership, that it had already been won over, that we were collaborating together. And it was much easier to build it that way than throughout the year. And I had it going right in. The student knew me. He knew I spoke to his mom. I mean, it was a great relationship. So that's it. Okay.
And again, I just have to say, this beginning of the year has been a little rocky, as we all know, and this is probably the one thing that has made it go a little bit more smoothly for me, because I knew a lot of the parents. Open house, there was like 5 sisters in the front. I'm like, oh, how's everybody doing? She's offered to give me manicures. I helped her get in contact till she get her GED. Like, it's not just about the kid I have in class. Like, they know that I know their family. They know that I know they have a pet, Sparky. You know, I know all this already. So they relate to me, and we have that bond already. And we are gonna say all these wonderful things about it, but the parents do agree too. We gave them a survey. We invited them to Bingo for Books, and we included a survey, and they all voted it strongly agree or agree. It was positive for our family. We felt comfortable. It improved our child's transition. We liked the free book, and they would recommend a home visit to another family, which I think is the most important thing. You don't recommend something unless you think it's worthwhile. And I just have this one quote from a parent that wrote, because I asked them, what's your favorite thing about the project? And they said, I thought it was great that the teachers took time out to come out to ease any anxiety we felt, and our child's, sending our son off to middle school. It's very comforting to know that you all care, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we were like bag ladies. Like, I had bags of books. I was like, hey, I'd see other kids. It was just like, I felt like I was the bookmobile lady. And I got to know the community a little bit more myself, too, and saw all the different neighborhoods. So we had Bingo for Books. We invited all the families and called them and asked them to come out again. And again, we had free books and everything. We probably had about 40 to 50 people there. It was just last Thursday night. And it was a real success. And again, just a way to build that relationship and have fun together. So looking ahead, I'm presenting here. Then I'm presenting to Flint is the only other school in Michigan, Flint district, that's doing this. Romulus was the first. And then Flint, I'm going to see how much progress they've made. But we went to a training there when they were trained. Detroit, I got a call from Detroit Parent Initiative asking if I could come and talk to them about what we're doing here. We're going to go to the national conference. We do have funding through NEA. This has all been funded through NEA because the staff members do get paid for their time. They get paid for an hours of time for travel, the time there, and then there's some paperwork that we have to fill out afterward. And then also Mr. Salhaney through the SIG funded some. We're going to our next visit that we're going to do in the springtime, or the next few months, we'll start them. We've got some learning games. It's more academic focused, the second visit. Books, calculators we're going to give out, things like that. So that was funded through some grant funding. Personally, my vision is that we do this district-wide. I can see, having been an elementary school teacher, how powerful that would be if I could do that with all the students I see all day. I see it, but I see 150 kids all day. So I see it in my class, but I can see how, and I've even talked to people through Facebook, of course. They saw, I posted one day after a visit, and some of the teachers from other schools were like, hey, we're doing this? I want to do this. How do we get involved in this? So I know there's staff members that would be interested in doing this. I know that we're interested. The parents seem to be positive. I know I have parents that would talk positively about this project. I would love to see it go district-wide if possible. Thinking outside the box. Let's spread this project. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My information's on there. Or if there's any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer. But thank you very much for your time.
I have a question. When you went to the conference, did they have any like community partners that partnered with the other schools to help them as far as like maybe with funding for this kind of a project?
Yes, there was a lot of faith-based organizations that helped with that. I don't know if they helped with the funding, but possibly. And then I know in Michigan they talked about the Mott Foundation possibly and things like that. So that's going to be my next step because we've had funding through the NEA for this to start this up. Right. But pretty soon we're going to have to use our Title I funds or some grants and things like that. So when I go to the conference at the end of October, I will certainly investigate that a little bit more about forming those partnerships.
Now, with the 60 families you visited, you said all those were from the middle school?
Yes.
Now, if it went district-wide, what would you think a year we would visit? I mean, obviously over 3,000 students. What would be your target number to try to target for this program? If you're going to go district-wide, because I'm sure you're going to hit elementary, middle school kids. And
I mean, for the first year and things like that, for us, I mean, I would want us to try to hit, again, the incoming students. Although Kathleen Forrest at the school, she did visit some of her students that were in 7th and 8th grade. But I would probably just target maybe 1 or 2 teachers at each school. I think the earlier the better, possibly the kindergarten teachers if they're interested. But if Ms. Carter's ready to go, set her up for, I would probably just do maybe 1 or 2 teachers in each elementary school. I haven't seen it at the high school, but I would say for the high school it would be 8th to 9th probably would be the best time to do that transition visit. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if anybody else have had thoughts about that.
Well, we do home visits for preschool already, don't we, Sue? Through like GSRP and that?
What was really nice about this is, you know, some people have a negative connotation with home visits. Sometimes it's to visit because of something's wrong or your behavior's bad or your attendance is bad. And that's why we didn't want to target us. We wanted to make sure we reached out to an entire group of students. And I think there's a little bit of hesitancy. I was nervous about it, but they were really welcome and they thought it was great. And some even mentioned, well, they did this for Head Start. I thought that was great when they did that. Oh, you're here again. So I think the more we do, we don't have that negative connotation about that.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm excited. We have been so budget oriented since like maybe the last 3 months. This to me is a breath of fresh air to kind of, you know, change lanes and do what we're here for, and that's talk about our kids and what they need from us and how we can get that to them. I participated in one of the NEA's conferences with Mr. Sohaney and Mr. Weiss when he was superintendent, when they actually started talking about this particular program. And to know that the NEA is doing things besides just talking about the union and labor union relationships, that was a nice thing for me to have that exposure. So to have this program here in Romulus and to be one of the ones to kind of jump started, the first ones off the block, hey, don't forget that. You know, I've always felt like we're kind of trailblazers for these types of pilot programs, and I'm glad that we are continuing to do this type of thing and to really just kind of get our feet wet and be the first ones to really, you know, push initiatives forward. I guess if I had to ask a couple of things is I would love to see an article or something submitted to the little paper so that our community can get some exposure. Christy Stevens is like begging for stuff from us, so this would be awesome. Also to kind of talk about the grant program and to have some of the testimonials from the parents, I think would really help establish this program and kind of, you know, further it on. But again, it's thank you.
And you forgot to mention, we have 5 people that can help spearhead it.
Yeah.
District-wide.
Yeah.
And I did invite, Sarah invited Mr. Theed, right, on a visit
Yeah, and
sometime,
that was
and we
yep.
invited also Ms. Funderburg, but we would extend the invitation to everyone. You know, when we're going to go on our follow-up visits, if you want to contact me, if you're interested in going with us to see it firsthand, how it works, we'd be happy to take. I took Mr. Parker on his first visit, our administrator, along with another teacher, and so he could see how it was. So we'd love to have you see it in action. And it was this just last week. It was on the Today Show, the Parent Teacher Home Visit Project.
Okay.
If you go to the website, you can see the clip of it because they talk about it in St. Paul, Minnesota. They're in their 3rd year
Okay.
doing it. So.
Great. Well, maybe we'll get on the Today Show too.
So thank you.
Maybe tomorrow.
You know, I tried.
Let John do that.
So, you know, as you can see, we just really want to highlight, I think you hit on a good point, that the funding for this and us being chosen, I mean, it's one of the good things that came out of the SIG grant is that the NEA did notice us, but, you know, also just for the last, you know, 5 to 10 years, I mean, we have had a good relationship between union and management, with the teachers union, with central office, with the principals, and that's why the NEA came in and targeted us. You know, they just don't go in anywhere. They went because of Gary and myself and because of central office and how we work together. So I think that's really important to stress. And they continue to throw money our way to do other kinds of projects. So, you know, as you can see, we have a pretty talented group of teachers and of staff members at multiple buildings. Ms. Herchard, I don't often say thank you enough, but, you know, when I first had her do it, you know, I just did it on my own personal relationship with her and said, hey, how about you go here, you know? But I knew it was good for her. Miss Carter, Miss Covert, excellent job. So really want to thank you all. But, you know, and we even, just so that you also know, we even went out and we did some families from Inkster. Miss Shackelford did this summer before school started. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of covered everyone. So But I think, after all the budget things and everything, I think this is a good positive step forward. Every school has to, I don't want to tell everyone how to spend their money, but they all have to spend 10% of their, Title I funds for parent involvement, and it's a very low-cost way to encourage those visits. So I know that we've dedicated a percentage of our money to that as well, so I'm sure the rest of the principals would join on.
So to take this, Mr. Sandy, to take it district-wide, would you come up with some kind of out plan of it, or some kind of?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, we could look at it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if with the NEA, if we looked at expanding it, if they would not continue to fund money. They gave us. I mean, last year they gave us $5,000, which it can do 180 visits, and so it's. It's pretty good. All of our staff, again, is trained, so you just have to have one of the people that's trained, but Ms. Herchard, I believe, can train other people, and they can come in and do that as well. So we'll put some costs together. One more thing to add to your plate. And
I know, right? I did have one other question.
Yeah.
They kind of touched on it a little bit about the other districts out of state that have been doing it for years that now have partnerships. Will you possibly include what that might look like for Romulus?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, hey, money is money, and if we can get it through partnerships, through
yeah, and that's part of it also is the NEA. Also, one of their commitments to us is to look at how to continue funding these programs, because it was intended to be seed money to get you started, to expand it. But I mean, it's like $50 for a visit. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something that's inordinate.
Okay.
But yeah, we can look at some partnerships. I'm sure Ms. Hercher can call people and get her working on that.
Might be able to attach it to a STEM program or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just before I go, I won't take any more time. We did open our AAA classroom this week, our 7th grade, which is the Advancing Academic Achievement class. It's the self-contained 7th grade general ed classroom. Ms. Robson is the teacher, and she started this week, and so it's been very successful. If anyone wants to stop by, she is there. Actually, she's the daughter of a former teacher of ours, Mary Albus. You might, from years ago, you might know her from at WIC. So stop by. We're in the process of interviewing for our 2nd classroom that will be opening in a couple weeks. So please feel free.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
It's these kinds of initiatives that we have that continue to give us hope and to let us know that we're moving in the right direction. The tax collection information distribution update, we shared some samples of some of the flyers that we're putting together. We put together the wording for our public notice, and the public notice is going to go into the local papers, but then it's also, we're going to do it probably twice in the Detroit News / Free Press. We know everyone doesn't, necessarily read that one, but we wanted to make sure that we had it there also. One coming up before the year is out, and then one closer to the date when, closer to July 1. We have priced out, and we're working on our budget to make sure that we can get it into the different papers, but then also flyers, and we are specifically targeting the organizations in the community, the Ministerial Alliance, so that we can get it into all of the churches. We're going to have the schools put it into their newsletters, information there, and we've got a couple of other kind of cutesy things planned, in addition to the library, and then we also got permission, Teresa, for some of the...
Yeah, I have been in contact with Stacy Page with the city, our treasurer, and she's willing to include messages. She got permission that we can include messages in with the tax bills, and she's going to, I'm going to give her, I have a little statement here, I'll read it, that I'm going to give her, and she's going to read this at city council meetings. We also got, I have the form, and she's giving me a form that we can fill out so that we can put a notice on that message board that's by the covered pavilion there in the downtown area, so that it can go on that lighted signboard out there. She's also going to put flyers up in the city hall, and she'll have them at the clerk's office and at the treasurer's office or the cashier desk where we can post flyers there. Basically, the little statement reads, "Attention Romulus citizens, effective July 1st, 2014, all school taxes will be collected. Your school taxes were originally divided between your summer and winter tax bills. This will no longer occur. 100% of the school taxes will now be collected in your summer tax bill. This change was made so that the district will realize a savings for the deficit elimination plan." And this is based on the vote that we took, that we said that we would go to the 100% collection so that we could get the monies in as soon as possible to cover us through the winter months. And
So much we have to borrow.
right, we don't have to borrow as much on a loan as well. So, but I just like to say thank you to Mrs. Page. She was extremely helpful in collecting the information for me and getting back with me on a timely basis as far as where we could put our information out at, and she's willing to help in making the announcements for us at city council meetings. So I appreciate that. And that was just the input that I wanted to provide for that, too.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Question on it. Have, we also thought about the Heritage newspaper, because that, a lot of people in the southern
Yes.
part of the city
The
does
News
do that.
Herald?
Yes.
And then also, you probably have already thought about it, but I didn't hear you mention, parent-teacher conference is gonna be coming up relatively soon too. If we've addressed that with all the schools, to at least capture that majority of the population and help spread the word too, with the report cards and stuff, 'cause I know some of them do get mailed occasionally, so
Okay.
maybe that could possibly, we've got the captive audience, so.
And we're gonna put the flyers too, Dr. Daniels and I discussed a little bit too, about putting the flyers, we're gonna put them at the senior center, also at both of the apartment complexes. I know that they have tables and stuff in their lobbies, so we're gonna put flyers in there for them. And also the library said that they could put flyers on their desk there too. So there's gonna be a lot of local public places that they'll be available also. And I hope to keep saying my little statement at each board meeting too until we get the word out.
If I could make a comment, I just know that, like, we had some people ask, does this mean we're gonna be paying more taxes? And I explained to them, no, you're gonna be paying the same tax, it's just that you're gonna be paying it earlier in the year, the school portion, so that means it will reduce what you pay in the winter.
Correct.
So people have to
Maybe
realize
we
that.
can put that on one of the flyers.
Right,
and
'cause
say
that's-
this is not more.
Right, because that's, some people, well, does that mean I'm gonna be paying more? Well, no, it's the same, it's just that it's gonna be on the bill earlier.
Correct.
It won't be on your winter bill.
Maybe put some examples of like we used to do, the hold harmless and everything, of what it was for X amount of dollar home, twice a year, and what it'll be the school portion, so that way people can kind of understand it in black and white on paper form.
I think everybody got a copy of a couple of the flyers that we kind of designed or rigged up for, in your packets too, so. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a field trip approval.
Madam Chair, I move the Board of Education approve the field trip to Washington DC and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania from May 7th to May 10th, 2014 for the 8th graders at Romulus Middle School as proposed at no cost to the district.
Support.
Discussion.
Motion made by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Mrs. Kraut. Mr. Thied?
On one of the pages where it says individuals attending, it says number of students 45, other chaperones 2, faculty sponsors 5. Are the faculty sponsors also chaperones?
Yes.
And it just says total number of participants 51, and it actually comes up to 52. So did somebody drop off, or is that a misprint?
I think it probably should have been 52,
Should be 52, not 51.
but I'll follow up on that.
And I've been
Usually-
on the trip, and the staff, they do work as chaperones. I mean, they're patrolling the rooms, and like I said, there is no downtime on that trip at all. I mean, you're on the go from sun up till sundown, and they keep the kids out. So, I mean, we don't go back to that room until like 11:30 at night, and they're told you're gonna be up at 5 in the morning, so you better go to sleep.
I was
So, I
just
mean,
hoping they were
yeah, it's-
chaperones, because 2 chaperones for 45 kids are
Yeah.
quite outnumbered. So there's 7 chaperones, which is
Yeah.
6 per kid. Okay.
Yeah.
And definitely the trip, the ones I've talked to with students, they definitely learn a lot with the hands-on out there. But if we could, Madam Chair, to try to schedule a presentation from this group to come back to the board to talk about what they've learned, it'd be great. The community itself can understand why some of these trips are. And this trip isn't going to be utilizing any district transportation. They're supplying their own transportation, so.
Yes, they usually.
Use a charter bus.
Right, they use a
Yeah.
charter bus every year.
I do know that they do, well, for the last couple of years, they've done an actual DVD that the students made.
presentation.
So if there's a possibility that if they can't do the presentation, maybe we could see the video presentation. That would be nice.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Mrs. Kraut. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is reinstatement of student number 2002-6379.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation of School Reinstatement Committee to reinstate student number 2000-26379 to Romulus Community High School.
Support.
Motion made by Mrs. Funderburg, supported by Mrs. Buckley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item is reinstatement of student number 2002-3723. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the Board of Education accept the recommendation of the School Reinstatement Committee to reinstate student number 200-223-723 to the Romulus Community High School.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Mrs. Buckley. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, it says board presentation at reinstatement hearings. There is no presentation. It should be board representation at reinstatement hearings. And the reason why I asked for it to be put on the agenda is most of the reinstatement hearings happen in the morning. And I know the majority of the board have jobs outside of our board table here and they work. And a couple of us don't, so it seems like the board representation is primarily the same people all the time. And I just think it's fair that if the rest of the board members get an opportunity to be on those committees also.
Well, I was planning on it, but
Yeah, well, again.
3:30 in the morning, that really wasn't the alarm clock I wanted to go off from my
Right.
supervisor saying he needed me into work. So,
So I had asked Dr. Daniels if there was an opportunity that we could schedule these later in the afternoon. Because the other problem that happens is Anna has a problem. She has a timeline because these hearings have to be held in a certain number of days by, I guess, for legal
10
reasons.
days, I think it is.
And so she's even been having difficulty trying to get them scheduled based on just trying to get everybody's schedules coordinated. So if we could open the window a little bit larger so that we're doing the hearings even later in the afternoon, maybe that would help.
is there any requirement why we have to have them during the day?
Well,
Well, we
If they
have-
want a reinstatement hearing, we tell them this is the opportunity.
It's just hard to get, a teacher and a parent probably not so much, but principal, and if I have them later,
How about if
Then
we
you-
try,
Then it's outside their work
Then you got
day.
the other side of the fence to worry about. I
Right.
understand.
how about if
Okay.
we try alternating, like a day, night, like a day, afternoon, like morning, afternoon, like maybe keep one in the morning and the next one would be scheduled, attempt
What is
to
the
schedule in the
compensation?
afternoon
Right, and I think that
to
that was
help out
kind
the
of.
schedule.
Well, there is a compensation issue too that Dr. Daniels was trying to, get information on for us.
Well, if a teacher has to be involved, or anybody that has a collectively bargained agreement where those working conditions are already set, particularly their work hours, then we would have to explore that option.
I see what they're saying.
So I
So
guess
having them
it-
during the day is better, it's cheaper for the district.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
That
But
makes sense.
Yeah.
The earliest I can be here is 3:15. I can't. That's the best I can do.
Now, one of the things that we also thought of was how do you, here go, I guess just to kind of just throw it out there is, do we feel as a board that we need to have that board membership component of having, because you have your parents, you have sometimes there's an administrator, a teacher. If it's a special education student, then you have someone who is part of the special education department, whether it be the director or one of the learning specialists at the building. And so, and then you have a board member or two. So my question was, well, do we need to have a board member on that committee as well, or is that something, because we look at the packets also, we get to review them before we actually have the vote. I think the nice thing about having a board member on it is that the board member can then kind of rehash the actual,
That's what I like.
what happened at the actual hearing. So, it just depends on how we want that piece to look. I know Anna had mentioned that there are some districts that actually have 3 or 4 board members do that particular hearing, but then you don't have that educational piece. And for me, I kind of like to have the people who
Like the
are
opposite.
professionals in that area, because one, they know those students. They deal with them way more than we do. As far as, behavior and student expectations, what the day is going to look like for them. And so I really like having that professional piece on there as well. So we just kind of need to figure out something that will work cohesively for all members involved. And I don't know whether that's just, as board members, do we pick a month where we say, this month and this month I'll be available for however meetings, or maybe there's like a 1 or 2 meeting requirement throughout your year of service that we are actually going to serve. So then that way, if we have to go to our employers, we can say, on this day, well, I'll need time for blah, 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 and you can give it to them up front. So, but it's just more or less so that, one, it's not the same people hearing the information, but two, I really feel like it's an asset that each person be part of that hearing so that they know or can get exposure to what those hearings are really like. Because sometimes when you are giving a rehash as a board member of what went on at that hearing, for some board members, it's kind of like, well, I feel like if I were there, I'd be able to make a better decision. It just gives you a better handle, I think, on the actual dynamics of what actually goes on in the hearings. And so, sometimes you don't feel like you're just kind of guessing when you are looking through the packets. So that's my 2 cents.
I think we do need that board member component. I think it's very important, because I know a lot of times if I'm not at that hearing, I always call a board member and say, okay, what happened, what's going on, if I have a question. So I think we need that component. My only thing, like I say, I can be here by 3:15, so if we can schedule some, maybe around that time, I'd be happy to do them. But that's the best I can do.
I mean, I think my feedback is, I think about a year ago I stated, I would just like to see a reinstatement panel made up of the same individuals. I mean, if we had a pool of 14, if you need 7 for a hearing, and we could have a pool of 14 to collect from. Because sometimes I'm in the same boat as Danielle. I have to make a decision just based on the recommendation of the hearing. And maybe if we had the same people on these panels, and maybe they were trained a certain way, like I said, because they are the professionals, and even had some kind of scoring card. You know what I'm saying? Like some kind of check sheet that we can even see those before we make that decision in a packet. And then we can look at all the answers, maybe the questions that are formulated, like, was the student remorseful, or was all this stuff, and look at that before we make a decision. But, I mean,
So
it's
you mean
hard for me.
The panel would be those made up of the staff?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you choose the 10 to 14 people you want, because if you only have, and 2 could be board members all the time in that mix. I mean, because it makes no difference to me if I'm on one of these or not, because my job's not going to allow me to come for this. I can't really tell them, hey, I got to, because they really don't care. So, it's just, it is what it is. I have to take personal time to attend anything. So, I mean, I'd rather just see the same 10 or 14 people on the hearing, and you got a pool of 7 to pool from every time. And that way, those people are making that commitment to be on this, if they have to do 2 or 3 of these a month. And that way, you get the right parent mix, or the right faculty mix, or the right administrator mix, and whatever board people have the lax schedule that they can make it more. I mean, I don't have no problem if the same board people sit on it, and
I don't either.
because I can still pick those people's brains.
Yeah.
And if there's some kind of sheet that we had, just one tally sheet that all the board member, might have a little summary sheet.
So kind of like a rubric for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think too, one of the things, and I guess I'm just talking as one of the people who, I'm usually one of the ones that's on the committee, because I have the availability, and not to, because I know that everybody's day looks different for them, but, sometimes I'm like, gotta do another hearing.
Yeah, so even
So it just becomes, I'm just starting to feel like this is a little bit unbalanced. So, and that is one of the reasons why I brought up. So then, if for any reason because Anna's running into a bind of having to schedule these, and so if Teresa and I, because for the most part, her and I have our days free, if we're unavailable, then are we as a board willing to say, well, okay, we didn't have that board member on there. Are we comfortable enough
To allow her to schedule it without a board member.
to schedule and have this hearing happen without the presence of a board member at the table? So that's kind of, that's.
And I'd like to see a parameter of the offenses too, because I just don't want to keep a kid in just to get an FTE either. I don't want to get in the habit of that, to say, hey, we need the $8,400 that bad, but this kid was a killer. I don't want to see that just to save $8,400, and I'm afraid that, it's going to happen eventually with the economy and the less money we get from the state. And it's hard because when you read some of these, versus somebody having a joint versus one prescription pill versus somebody kicked somebody in the head 15 times, there's a difference of what character I want in that school around my kid or somebody else's kid.
Right.
And not to just have somebody for an FTE and say, he kicked somebody in the head 15 times, we think he's good. Then, other things should be involved as police reports and things like I stated before. Because the one hearing I sat on, there wasn't a lot of, where was the evidence of the weed? Who had it? Did anybody take a picture of it? So where was it at? We need to, I think, ourselves keep better track of evidence. Then that way when it's presented to the hearing, we have that stuff for someone can't say, well, I don't know if I had the weed on me that day or not.
And what's frustrating too is like as a person that's been on the hearings, you guys get the packets, and if you haven't been to the hearing and you see the information, I mean, I've looked at some of the packets and they made my mind up just by looking at the packet.
Yeah.
And have been guilty of saying no way. But then when you go to the hearing and you hear that the whole family has possibly gone through therapy and the kid's gone through therapy and they have changed their ways and they are remorseful and they've done things and put things in place to try to have a second chance, then
It's hard to say.
then it's hard to say, well, heck no,
Which having a summary of the hearings would be like some question and answer stuff for us to have answered to certain questions that we want answered.
So I'm kind of hearing that if we had a rubric or some sort of summary page on, then if in the event that a board member could not be there, that would be satisfactory for us when we do our reinstatements here at the regular
table.
meetings.
Yeah, because I know we always have access to the packet. I mean,
Right. and
if
you're
we
gonna
want to
get-
vote
you're
a
still
different
gonna
way,
get
we
that.
could
I
read
mean,
it
that's not
ourselves,
gonna be
correct.
stopped. I just,
And we probably we would have access, if we really wanted to know something, to that person who was on that committee
Yeah,
as
that
well.
was gonna be my
So,
next question.
I mean, I'm fine with it as long as we have some type of summary of what's, what the hearing panel kind of, what their reasoning and that kind of thing.
Because sometimes, I mean, I mean, because maybe I'm in a management situation myself, sometimes I don't look highly into references, I mean, like letters, because to me, if you're writing a letter for somebody, oh, he's the best person in the world, just, here he is. And sometimes I look at these reference letters and they're like an aunt. Of course, my aunt's going to write the best thing for me.
right.
My aunt's not going to say, yeah, this kid really sucks, he shouldn't be here. My aunt would never do that. So I look at some of those letters, I ignore them. Because they're not that valid to me.
Right.
Sometimes people write good reference letters just to shoo somebody off. So I would like to see some
So,
kind of
I don't-
parameter set, some kind of questions, more in-depth questions set. And if you're going to get a reference letter, get a reference letter more from the mom. What's the mom going to say? I mean, the mom's going to say, I want the kid in school.
Right.
Let's get somebody who maybe could be impartial more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, at least we know where to go
That's some
with
good
it from
ideas,
here then.
yeah.
Got some
I mean-
information to try to come
So-
back with something kind of soon.
So are you saying we are still gonna have a board member have the opportunity to be?
Well, that's what we were
That's
kind of
what-
getting ideas to.
Yeah.
But I guess my thing was, if in the event that we cannot have one on there, then is the board comfortable? And I almost think that we need to kind of go around the table to say yes or no to find out what the majority says. Are we comfortable in saying, well, you know what, we, for whatever reason, we weren't able to have a board member on that hearing panel? But when we get our packets, do we feel comfortable enough to go through them? I guess my only reservation, if I had to, I would say yes, that it would be fine if we did not have the presence of a board member. However, if we did have to do it that way, then would there be a phone number or of maybe one or two people as a representative that I could contact if I had questions in regards to the hearing and what their take was and what their feelings were and that kind of thing?
And as I said, I don't mind even the same board member being on there all the time. I know some people's schedule allows that to happen. Some people just, the date falls always on the person's day off or whatever.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it as long as, like I said, have that contact person. That's kind of what I was getting to. If I can get to that person, somebody that was
Talk
on
to.
that panel, so I could talk to them if I had questions. So,
Okay, Mr.
uh,
Cru-
and
I
that's.
guess the other
I'm
three
fine
we
with
haven't
that.
heard from then, so.
I'm fine with it. If you exhausted all the attempts of getting a board member on and none's available, we've got to have the hearing. I
Right,
mean,
now
we got to
my
do
other
it. We
thing. It's
can't.
legal.
Right, we kind of messed
I mean, we
with it.
tried, and if people aren't available, then they're not available. I mean,
Okay.
How long do the hearings usually take?
They can be anywhere from an hour, about an hour, maybe. I've been on a panel where it went an hour and a half, but usually that's because there's so much to take into consideration on whether or not
And
that
things
person
come
should
out
be
during the
reinstated.
hearing too,
Yeah.
because you have a decision to make
Yeah.
as a panel at the end of the hearing, after
have
the
to
people have
deliberate.
left. You discuss what's transpired and what information you have in front of you, and then that's when you make your recommendation.
Right. Or if there's additional files that might be needed. Sometimes we've had Anna go back into the student file to pull up something that we didn't see in front of us that we had questions on. I know the last one, we even made a phone call to one of the other administrators at the building because we had some questions on a timeline of events. So it just depends. But normally, I would say for the majority of the hearings that I've been on, the expectation is usually an hour, maybe hour and 10 minutes tops, and you're done.
And as Mrs. Peck, was reminded me, we also have the hearing officer who's there.
Right.
So that might even be the point of contact
Right.
for
That's a good
additional
idea.
information.
Right. And oftentimes, our hearing officer is one of our central office employees.
They are.
Yeah. So, and it's taped as well. So that's
Audio
an-
taped,
It's
yeah.
audio taped as well. The hearing is audio taped. So,
Okay.
How
But you-
often
you-
is, when is it
Did everybody-
available to actually be viewed, the audio tapes? Because my personal opinion of it is, I feel more comfortable personally having the opportunity to have a board member there. I like the idea of having different perspectives, which is nice, but I also like the fact of knowing the confidence is put within the board members from the citizens, and that we have a responsibility to them. And I feel more comfortable going to another board member knowing that they're not here to take sides, they're here to do a job, and not having to wonder about the person that's on there, what kind of connection they have to the person that's in front and their background of it. So I like the idea of having a board member there. And I also would like to know, for the tapes, I didn't know there were audio tapes of it. I would like to come in and know, when can I view some of those? Because I would like to definitely view those as well. Are they
mean to
available
hear
like
them?
right
They'd be-
afterwards, or is it a certain amount of time you need before they are available for us to view?
And it takes right away, so I mean,
Okay.
if you wanted to come in.
It's a
and-
cassette
If
tape.
they're
It's a cassette
audio
tape,
tape.
yes.
Okay. Is there somewhere here we can listen to them? If I came in, can I come in here and sit and listen to it?
now, but just so that we're clear, what's audio taped is the actual hearing. The actual deliberation part is not.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot
That
of
happens
times, to
afterwards.
me, is the deliberation part. I think that really, is where the brainstorming comes in on
That's the meat
what
of it.
steps do we need to take to whether we're going to decide on whether this student is going to be reinstated or not. Because you start picking apart the packet and looking to see, well, has this person, were they convicted? Did it go through criminal process? Yes, no. Did they seek any, my brain just went,
Did they do any outside?
outside there, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Therapy is just like gone. So there's a lot of different, how many, what is the family component like? Do they have a good support system at home? And then that most important piece is, do we have the capacity as a school district to help them? Because sometimes they're so far behind that it's like, well, I don't know if we can even do anything for the child because they're so close to being aged out of the system, or so that's the deliberation part is really where kind of the meat and potatoes of the hearing takes place, but that's not audio taped.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that if we had the meetings in the afternoon at a specific time, it would be a cost problem for us? Is that?
The district employees, because of their contractual obligations, they would have to be paid for that time over.
Yeah, it'd almost be like a stipend.
Did you get everyone's feel on it?
Yeah, I think the majority.
Well, I
Sandy
think
say
I
something?
know that there might be a time, but I would hope that, I feel more comfortable knowing a board member has been there.
I do too.
So, and what time are the hearings are usually?
I think, but you know what, Sandy, and I understand, I hear you too, because I would be more comfortable with board members there. But if we can't, if it's, we are in a time constraint, and if we can't, and if we've exhausted all our options, I don't know
Right.
what else. Because I think that's the problem, now we're having this discussion, because.
Have we never had one without a board member?
Well, we almost did.
We almost
Right,
did.
we almost
So-
did,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's kind of why we're bringing it up.
I mean, I was getting, like I said, I got the impression that we didn't want to keep the same board people on because of the schedule. I mean, like I said, I have no problem, if the same board person can make it, I have no problem with that. I just know the schedules are more lax than some,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. All right, the next item is communications and expressions from the public. Does anybody have any other forms? I have two up here. No. Okay, the first person, Sandy Tenney.
I just have
You're on.
a couple quick questions, and people have asked me, and I didn't know the answer. Middle school, I know, at previous meetings, there had been questions about overcrowding in some of the classrooms. Is something being done about that? Is that being rectified? It is?
Yes, it is. Mr. Selhani was sharing
Yeah,
about the
I hate to see him leave.
the one of the classes, and then we have another one that we're interviewing for.
Oh, good,
That'll help
good,
with it.
good. Another quick thing, and this came up, and I was like, oh, I knew someone was going to ask this one day. We had a meeting in here, and we had this company bought us all pizza, and he's like, where's your recycling bins? Doesn't this
I know, right?
building recycle? Which has always been a pet peeve of mine. I would like to see this building recycle, please. We have a lot of paper, and you know what? We need to, we teach it, let's walk it, so I'd like to see this building recycle. One more quick thing. If the football game Friday night, if you didn't attend, you'll be glad to know that it was another victory, another step towards the state playoffs. But one of the greatest things at that football game was during halftime. Now I want you to remember this name, Christopher Lloyd. He's a senior, Christopher Lloyd, CJ, AKA CJ. I don't know if this has ever happened at Romulus before, but the second song that they performed, Christopher Lloyd wrote and composed that song. And to add really something even great to that, his sister is in the band. So she got to perform the composition that her brother wrote. It was real success. It was real upbeat. They danced to it. The choreography was great. And I think that's something we can be real proud of, that. And I think you'll hear from him and his music career in the future. Yeah. And he's an actor too, Danielle. Yes. He is, So I just thought you'd like to recognize, Christopher Lloyd. Got that? Y'all got that? Christopher Lloyd.
He's our drum major.
Exactly. He's one of our drum majors, and the composition was great. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
They have homecoming Friday too.
Yes,
Homecoming Friday.
And Friday is Maroon and White Day, so everybody in maroon and white. I'm going to be the maroon and white checker, so I'm coming around to see. And if you need a ribbon, I've got maroon and white ribbons. So.
Okay, the next person form I have is Mrs. Shelby.
Here's a paper you can start advertising for your school district. In this paper, it's called the Telegram.
I'm sorry,
So
Miss
make
Shelby. Cause I don't know that the
Might
mic
turn it
is
on.
on.
Mic's not on.
Turn it on. I
Yeah.
talk loud enough.
But
Well,
Actually,
yeah,
I
have
for
it
the
for recording.
For the recording.
I'm Jessica Shelby. I'm from the transition team for Inkster Public Schools. And the paper is the Telegram, and you can advertise in it. Your Robichaud Homecoming was in it, so that's why I have it, and it's at Inkster. And another thing, we have a new city manager, and let him know what you want to be advertised, because you can do it through Inkster too. And Channel 7 have met with him, and we want positive things coming over the air, okay? So that's another branch. I am tired because I have been with your school district all day today.
Bless you.
Bringing programs, okay? Another thing, free books, Dr. Daniels. Remind me to find that information for you.
Okay.
we in Inkster gave thousands of books away. I just have to look for the information
Okay.
so she can have it, and you can get the books. We go downtown to the Troy. There is a place. We get all the books we wanted. And when she was with our school district, the teachers would come over and pick out the ones they wanted. They even had practice programs for the financial aid workshops that we would pick up. The other thing is, we know that it's a problem of parents coming out here for your parent-teachers conferences. So I had wondered about it, and meeting with your principals, I also met with my pastor, and we have a ministerial alliance in Inkster, and I have asked him, you know, churches have buses, vans, and all of that. So I have asked, we the transition team, and asked churches to donate their vans on the nights that you're going to have parents-teachers conference, because you know that's a long ways for parents to come out to parent-teachers conference if they don't have transportation. So they, People's Community Missionary Baptist Church have also said that he will let us have the van, and long as he know ahead of time, and it's going to be up to the principals to make sure they contact the church. And it'd be up to the principals to contact the parents to say where the van's going to pick them up and bring them out to your parent-teachers conferences, okay? What else? University of Michigan, under the financial aid workshops, we've had that program for like 30, 40, 50 years in Inkster Public Schools, so we have not brought it to your school districts. We have set up the dates. They will be coming to your middle school and your elementary schools, and I met with the high school principal today. So this is all free, whatever Jesse brings. And if it's any money involved, I'll get with Dr. Daniels so we can write some proposals. The other thing is, you was talking about your parent program. That's good. That's a very good program. But today I met with the principal at the high school, and that's one of the things we was talking about, educating the parents. Because I feel that the parents need educational, because this generation, they don't know what parenting is about. Everything is free to them. They can go online, they can do this and they can do that. But the kids, they are lost. Some maybe not know what they want to go into, so your parenting program that was presented here tonight, we can broaden it a little further by educating the parents and letting them know particularly about voting. Parents do not realize, they wait till a presidential election. They do not realize we need to educate the parents that primary is the time. And that's the time who runs their school district. They need to be educated who they going to sit up here where you sit that makes decision for their kids and for their cities. So that's one thing I think we need to start doing too, is educating the parents of voting. And the other thing, coming to school board meetings. Because, you know, you wait till something happened to your child, then you want to come here and argue and all that. But we need to educate the parents on some certain things, especially about voting and who controls them. The paper you have is about your basketball game that was at Robichaud. So I thought I bring it to you.
Football game.
The football game, I'm sorry,
Winners
basketball.
also.
I'm thinking about basketball.
Yeah, we know.
But, no, you can keep it.
Okay.
And then if you need some more, I would go by City Hall and get a stack of them and bring them out here to you.
Should be.
Okay?
I believe we have some on the back table, but I'm not sure.
The telegram.
Or
It's the
Vestibule
telegram,
table?
but contact them if you want to put something in the paper about everything. And I want to tell you another thing is that your buildings are nice, beautiful, especially Hell's Creek. Walk in that door and down that hall is fantastic. And I just think that we need to let you know that we're in your buildings.
Great.
And we are satisfied.
Thank you.
And we are going to work with the staff or the principals for anything their needs are to let us know, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Your quarterback, since you was bragging. The young man that the quarterback, he's a freshman for Inkster. And threw a bomb, and it's my great-grandson.
What's his name? Miss Shelby. What's his name? What's his name? It's in the paper. Okay. I have to make sure I'm reading it then.
Okay, that concludes our communications and expressions from the public.
I do have
Should I go around them? So I guess I'll get questions or anything from the board. Mr. Kudrick?
No.
Ms. Spolz?
Yes, I do. I had a concern. Does anybody or did anybody here know about the skating station trip that took place on Friday? For skating for the middle school. On October 11, 2013, I wrote this down so I can keep track. There was a skating event that took place at Skating Station in Canton, Michigan, where I witnessed about 75 to 100 students from Romulus Middle School. Students participated in the skating station from 8 p.m. until about 2 a.m. in the morning. As I approached an employee of the skating station, I was told that this event was arranged with the principal of Romulus Middle School, and flyers were approved and sent out to the parents. I witnessed parents dropping off their kids with the understanding that the event was approved through Romulus Community Schools. I did observe 2 chaperones. One of the chaperones was a parent. Was a teacher. I don't know her name per se, but I do know her face. The other lady I didn't know that well, who was checking the IDs to make sure that only Romulus Middle School could enter free with, I believe it was for, you enter free, but you had to pay for the rental of the skates. I stayed for about 45 minutes to observe within that time, just to observe what was going on. And as I tried to, just observe what was going on, I lost track of the chaperones. I couldn't find them. I checked the bathrooms. I couldn't see where they were at all. I can't really tell you if they were on the floor because I didn't participate in that. I heard through it from a parent, and I felt like, okay, I knew I didn't know anything about it. And so I said, okay, well, I don't know if the board knows anything about it, but before I go by what somebody tells me, let me go and check it out myself and see it with my own eyes. I witnessed some of the kids. The kids seemed to be having a good time, but my concern was there was some pushing, there was some shoving, there was a little, of course, falling, a little bit of that, but it was just a concern at that time that for the safety of the kids, for the most part. I asked the lady, the guy in the beginning, which was the bouncer, just to get a little bit more understanding of, who authorized this. He just said it was a skating, it was just a skate. That was his words as he was checking my purse. So then I went a little further and I went in and as I went in, I went to talk to a lady on the side that was actually like where the skating station skates are, and I asked some information in regards to how did this all come about. She was not the person that was over the program per se, but she did give me the card of the person that did arrange this arrangement with the principal of Romulus Middle School. I also observed a man at this point in time who walked in who didn't have kids.
He just, at this time, the guy that was checking my purse, it's over 7, it had to be about almost 100 kids in there. And he was walking around at this time. So the door was wide open. And I was standing by the door on the opposite side when you first walk into the entrance. And I watched this man walk in, and he didn't come with any kids or anything, but he was just walking around watching the kids. So while he was watching the kids, I was watching him. And this is another time where I took the initiative to run to the bathrooms again to try to see if I can track down the faces of these two ladies, and I couldn't find them. So finally, the lady that was up front, who I was asking the questions to, she came back to me, and I explained to her that I was a board member and that I was just concerned because we didn't know anything about it. And she then handed me a card, another card, a piece of paper that was written down of 3 other events that were to take place, which was on February the 21st, April 4th, and on May 23rd as well, of time frames that are set aside just for Romulus Community School, or Romulus Middle School students. Let me make that clear. Romulus Middle School students to have access to come there. Now, mind you, in the parking lot, I didn't see anybody there. It was only about approximately less than 10 cars. So that's why I'm saying that I saw a lot of parents just dropping off their kids with the insinuation that we knew, this was what was taking place. So I just wanted to bring that across to you. I do have the card for you to look into. And, I had some questions. I just wanted to know, from my understanding, I thought the approval of any kind of flyers had to at some time or another be sent through the board, and it had to be approved. That was my understanding, so that we would all be on the same page of exactly what was taking place, because what took place seemed as if they were using Romulus Community or Romulus Middle School as a trait in order to get other middle school students out there. It wasn't like the students got together and decided we're going to go out there. And I just felt like, and I explained this to the lady as well, I said I felt like by me being a board member and all the other board members not knowing, I felt like, we don't know what's going on. And it could have been a safety issue, and if that was the case, then we would have been held responsible for it. So, I did want to find out from you all, is there a procedure for approving student events that are sponsored through Romulus Community Schools? I would like to know, why the board wasn't informed of this information. I would also like to know who authorized the principal to approve flyers sent out to parents about the event without the consent of the board or the superintendent, from my understanding. And, I also would like to know, when we have, I don't want to sound, I just have to tell it like it is. When we have employees who choose not to follow procedures and policies, what is the consequences behind that? Because I feel like because you are a manager or a director or an administrator, you have to follow rules and regulations like everybody else. And, you don't have the right to take the initiative to just make your own, your own agenda. You need to be an example for the kids. We tell the kids to listen and follow directions. You need to be an example of that, and you need to listen and follow directions as well. So I just wanted to bring that to you all and let you know I do have the card. I'll give you that information. I tried to talk to the lady. The lady that I should have been talking to wasn't there. So that's why I couldn't talk to her per se, but the lady that brought me the events, of the next events that are there, is the person that I talked to, and she only felt comfortable because, like I said, I explained to her that I was a board member. I was willing to, even if I had to give her my driver's license, to say, hey, take a copy of that, look me up on the internet, whatever you need to do to feel comfortable to know who it is that you're talking to. So I just wanted to let you know.
The other 3 dates you had, Tamika, is that they already had those 3 dates, or is that for 2014?
Those are the dates that are scheduled.
For 2014 coming up? Or
Yes.
Okay, so those are 3 more they have scheduled for
February
next year.
21st, April 4th, and May 23rd.
3 future dates.
Yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like we just need to find out what the dynamics of this particular event.
We'll follow up on it and see what's
Okay.
going on.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Crowe?
I would just like to mention that I really miss it. School's back. I'd like the calendars where the school activities, so I can feel I can be a part and get to those that I can get to. It's something that I really use and am sort of lost without it, and I feel like I'm missing some of the events I should be at.
Well, we tried to give you the homecoming.
Right.
That's what we, but we'll try to get that back out.
From all the
Now,
other
is Student
schools.
of the Month always the same week of the month, or does it change?
Same.
It's always
Is
the
it-
what?
I don't know. Mr.?
Tuesday.
Okay, the second, third, whatever.
Is the third Tuesday? Right?
Not had one yet.
Like it's,
Because from one year to the next, I forgot, and I used to always go, and it was like, is it Tuesday, is it Thursday, is it the second one, or the third one? I think it's.
I know it
just went
switched,
blank.
I know it switched from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m.
I remember that.
We'll get that to you, too.
All right, thanks.
And Mrs. Poirier, I believe, sent out a notice to everyone interested in supporting the Student of the Month. And if you did not get that, I will make sure that I share that information with you.
I know I didn't get it, that's for sure.
You did not?
I haven't seen nothing yet.
Okay.
Oh, I already got mine, thank you.
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Thied?
Yeah, in our packet, we had a letter from the state superintendent congratulating Romulus Elementary for becoming one of the 347th reward schools out of 4,247 to get that. So congratulations to Miss McAnally and her staff. And if there's any other schools that got this that we didn't get the letter, congratulations. to
They
them, too.
were our star for this year.
Okay.
Mrs. Buckley?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Mrs. Funderburg?
Yes, I have, I guess, I've been getting a lot of employee questions. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility where we could maybe have like a newsletter or some type of Q&A go out to individuals. So like, for instance, I talked to Rebecca Friday for a hot second. One of the questions was, with the contract that we have now with DM Burr, it said Romulus employees could apply. Do they have to be either custodian or maintenance in that particular profession with us now in order to qualify for that incoming Romulus community wage? Or are they considered a new person? So like, for instance, if they are speech and language, I'm just kind of throwing something out there. If they're from a different category within the district, would they be considered a new employee, or would they be considered a Romulus community employee? We've got other questions in regards to, and not to put anybody on the spot, but in order to keep up with workloads, we've had to bring some people on to kind of help us cover those workloads, and so they have questions, and so I'm just kind of going off of, this is what the rumor mill is kind of pushing out, and so they want some clarity on those rumors on, well, are we paying that person extra to do XYZ responsibility because we're backed up in our department, or, so we've got a lot of, things kind of circulating in the rumor mill, and I'm wondering if there's something that we can do on our end to clear it and, make it crystal clear for everybody on what's going on, so everybody is on the same page, so that we can keep moving forward and not get set back because we're, everybody's kind of listening to whisperings going on, and they're just not true. So I don't know how we would do that, if we do it through a newsletter that goes out, or, if we have like a specific study session where those questions can be answered, or, but just so that we can get the right information out there so that people aren't, believing the myths.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll work on that.
Thank you. Oh, real quick. Homecoming, Friday.
Garden City, right?
And then Saturday is the homecoming dance. That's a good question. I just,
Yes,
I just,
they're
I
playing
go, I'm
Garden
a
City.
parent, I just kind of show up to the games.
They're playing Garden City.
I just show up to the games. It's like, who the baby's playing today? So we have homecoming this Friday, so I'm kind of excited about that. This is my daughter's senior year, so events like these are, they were big deals before, but they're like really big deals this year because will be the last time that I know, don't get here, girl. I don't even want to go there. I'm trying to say that for the end of the year. But they're like really big deals. And then we have parent-teacher conferences on Thursday at the high school, and they start at 2:30
to
4:30, and then there's another shift from
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30. We have a bake sale that's going on from the band booster. So if you want to get your treats, come and get those. We can feed you while you're, getting the grades for your babies. The trunk or treat is coming up on October 26th. And I'm sitting up here stressing because I'm like, I'm going to be at a conference at MASB. I got to see if I can get back in time to be able to do that, because I had a really good time the last time I was there, to see all the babies in their costumes. And so that's going to happen out in our parking lot in between WIC and the middle school. Regina Plank and her family, they do a phenomenal job in orchestrating that, and they get a lot of help from the different community members. I know NHS helps them a lot with the hay rides, and they do sales and pumpkin carving, and so it's just a lot of fun, and it's just really a nice opportunity to everybody just come and enjoy each other's company. Trying to think if there is and I feel kind of bad that I won't be here for this either, an educator's breakfast, and that is what
I think that's the 26th also.
that's on the 26th as well. And we've been invited. I'll just read it. It's calling all educators, teachers, administrators, bus drivers, secretaries, tutors, paraprofessionals, teachers, aides, and volunteers, and school board members. We invite you to join us for our annual Teachers Appreciation Breakfast, Saturday, October 26th, 2013 at 10 a.m. It's at Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church. That's 29066 Eaton in Westland, Michigan. And that's he's Reverend John Duckworth. And so, I want to kind of send my apologies that I'll be up in Lansing with Mr. Kuderick, Mr. Theed, and Mrs. Beard for our MASB, our fall conference, so that I can make sure that I am doing my due diligence, and I've got my toolkit to be able to help govern what we've been elected to take care of for the district. And so
and in follow-up to that, Gethsemane, this is a function that they've done over the years, and they've extended the invitation to us because now we serve students from Inkster.
Okay.
And they invited all of the receiving district superintendents to meet with them.
Okay.
And expressed their gratitude for us working with them and their kids, but they also wanted to be sure to make sure that we knew about the brunch. And what they said, and it's a very nice function. You don't have to come and stay. You can come and eat. There's a point where they kind of stop and they acknowledge everyone who's there and thank them. But it's just a very nice outreach, and so for any of our staff who are able to come, or board members, it would be really nice. And they, too, are another one of the churches in the community that really do outreach to try to support what's going on in the schools. So now we belong to them too, because some of their kids belong to us.
Have we posted this in our areas of the schools?
It's going out on
for all our employees that this deals with.
Okay, great. So that's it for me. I'm done.
Okay, and I got a couple of things at the board table tonight, so I just wanted to share them. The board received a thank you note from the family of Betty Cantrell. And we also have Eastern Michigan University's Bright Futures, which operates at the middle school and the high school. We have invitations here, and I can pass it around if everybody wants to look at it. But Romulus High School Lights On Celebration, it's Wednesday this week, 10/16 in room 119. It says, join our RHS students in celebrating their energy, creativity, and passion by attending a typical early release day from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Here you can check out our clubs, Also, stick around for our additional celebration from 4 to 5 to hear from our newly appointed Youth Advisory Board. And then Romulus Middle School Lights On, A Day in the Life, is on Thursday, 10/17, in room 123. It says, join our Romulus Middle School Bright Future students from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. to experience an afternoon of fun and hands-on learning. Offer support during study hall, be a chef in our cooking club, unleash your creativity in our art club, demonstrate your math and technology skills in our math video making club. You don't want to miss it. And they've extended an invitation to the board to show up to these events if you'd like to come. And they actually sent us some homemade invitations, and I have the flyer if anybody wants to look at them. And I think other than that, that's it. I don't have anything else. Good luck to the Eagles on Friday.
Our workshop Thursday.
Third Tuesday of every month, and it starts in November.
Madam Chair, make a motion
Third
to adjourn.
Tuesday.
Third Tuesdays.
Okay, and then just a reminder, I have Thursday the 17th, we have our board workshop. There'll be no board business. It is strictly just the workshop, the board superintendent workshop. It starts at 6 p.m. And we're going to have light refreshments, so
And
it should only be a couple hours.
And if you wanted to come and hear what we learned, you're more than welcome.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, make a motion, we adjourn for the evening.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Mr. Theed. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0.
Can I see that?
Meeting adjourned at